Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to a new video. So I don't usually make videos on Fridays, but I felt like this was a time to make a video. They just announced that they are planning to actually pull sailing as a skill, not as a meme, not as an April Fool's joke, but as an actual skill coming to old school with, real stuff happening with it. So I'm going to go through the devlog real quick and just explain it in some basic detail and then give you my own thoughts. So they start off with the original picture that started the sailing conspiracy. This picture was on the homepage of RuneScape probably like 8 years ago, something like that. I don't even know. But this is what started the whole conspiracy of sailing. People made all sorts of videos zooming in on this picture with the guy with the skill cape that was unfamiliar and then on the boat. So it has to be sailing, even though it's definitely just Elvarg. But yeah, that's where it all started. And sailing has been like a joke in the community since then. And now they actually want to do it in old school. So they say they want to, it encompasses exploration and adventure, which are some of the key elements of RuneScape, which it would be cool to see a skill that actually might be not like so repetitive after so long, like a skill that would still remain interesting after many, many hours. It'd be interesting if they could actually accomplish that. So the basic facets of sailing are shipbuilding, navigation, and exploration. So shipbuilding is probably going to be the somewhat viable portion of it. You have to use resources to build ships, so it's probably going to involve a lot of planks, ropes, cloth, tar, stuff like that to build the ships. You can sell the ships to NPCs afterwards though if you don't want to take them out on the seas. So it'll be interesting to see whether you can sell those for GP. Hopefully not, because that would bring a whole bunch of money into the game. But maybe sell them for some kind of other currency that would only be used within sailing or other resources, something like that. And if you don't choose to sell your ship, you can navigate out onto the ocean, which is probably going to be the more exciting part of the skill. And it's going to be Dungeoneering-esque, as in you will have randomly generated oceans where you have dungeons, battles with other pirate ships and stuff like that. You have islands, all sorts of different things you can come across while you're sailing, which could be pretty interesting. And I mean, I'm sure there'll only be a limited number of like types of events that you can get, but if they can do it well, then it'll probably remain pretty interesting and entertaining even after a lot of hours if it's randomly generated. And so the navigating is just like, I guess, learning how to use your ship and getting to areas correctly, and then exploration is involved with, I think, like the actual events themselves, like fighting whatever monsters or exploring whatever caves or whatever, stuff like that. So all of that contributes experience to the sailing skill. So some of the things you can get from this are you can discover, as they said, Fossil Island is one thing they're talking about, other islands, stuff like that. New resources. The hidden gemstone caverns is probably going to incorporate the gem related dragons that John C posted on Twitter yesterday. He posted a picture of 3 types of dragons: ruby, emerald, and sapphire dragons, and the ruby dragon was right clicked and was level 515, so that was interesting. That could be fun. So it's going to involve a lot of PVM and new resources and just a whole bunch of content, which could be pretty cool. I definitely think this is a better idea than Artisan anyways. And also Augury and Rigor, those are mage and range high-level prayers, like equivalent to Piety. So I guess those would be possibly unlockable through this skill. I don't really know how, but that could be interesting. And it also does involve skills a little bit. Like I said, it can involve construction, smithing, other things like that while you're on some of the different events, which is also similar to Dungeoneering. And it can incorporate PvP, so you can go into a dangerous area of the waters and fight other people's boats, and they said you can have a team of up to 5 players, or be solo or whatever. So that could actually be quite interesting for the PvP community, something besides just, fighting people in the wilderness with your weapons and everything. A whole new like style of PvP could be quite interesting. And as far as when they think they can release this, they say they could do it early next year, which is quite surprising to me. But they said that they're going to hire new devs with all of this stuff coming, 2 new devs, so that could be interesting as well. So, yeah, this is quite surprising. This is not at all what I was expecting to be announced today. So my personal thoughts on sailing, I actually do kind of like the basic idea of it. There are definitely some qualms and concerns I have about it as a piece of content, but I think that the basic idea is there, and it has the potential to be really good and really fun and well balanced. A couple of things that immediately came to mind is when they mentioned PvP and group aspect, is that I hope that you don't have to do those things, especially PvP. Like I hope that you can just choose to do PvP if you want to and maybe get some types of rewards from it, but I hope it's not mandatory, and I hope it's not going to be like really essential because some people really don't like PvP, and I might be one of those. Also, I hope that you don't have to go with a group to get the best XP. That was one of the biggest things that I really disliked about Dungeoneering for a very long time, is that unless you're doing 5-man floors, your XP was absolute shit until they updated it like 2 or 3 years ago. And after that, like before that, I had like 90 something Dungeoneering, like not very high at all. And then after that, I shot up to 120 because I could solo and still get like 500k XP per hour. So I hope that you will be able to solo sailing effectively, and it won't be like way faster with teams, because that will just become annoying. And it's just easier, I find, to like skills. Every other skill is a solo skill basically, and I think that's how skills should be. Another thing is that I hope it's not really fast experience the way Dungeoneering was. Dungeoneering was just stupidly fast, and resulted in tons and tons of people having high Dungeoneering, and it wasn't really too impressive. It'd be nice if sailing was similar XP rate to Slayer, I think, so like in the region of 40 to 50k XP per hour, I think would be pretty well balanced. Because for a skill that's actually like somewhat entertaining and interesting, I think it's definitely a good idea to have it be slower XP, because otherwise the high scores will just be crazy. Like even with Slayer, it's one of the slowest skills, and still tons more people have 99 than some of the other skills, just because it's more interesting of a skill for most players. And another really big thing about this is the question of, does it need to be a skill to be effective content? That was the other big criticism I had of Dungeoneering, is that it was a mini game that gave XP basically. It really didn't need to be a skill. The only skill related things with Dungeoneering were unlocking higher level floors, and you could just as easily unlock higher floors once you've gotten a certain number of tokens or whatever, something like that, and it wouldn't have to be a skill. And that aspect was kind of silly that it was a skill, because once you got all the rewards, you were just grinding it out for no reason really other than to get the XP. And most skills are more kind of basic and just a matter of like processing resources, gathering resources, stuff like that, rather than so much happening. I think it could still be a very effective piece of content if it was a mini game, and it would still get a lot of play, and especially if it was more in-depth the way it sounds like it's going to be. It does say that with higher sailing levels, you'll be able to navigate further, build higher level ships, stuff like that. I'm not necessarily opposed to it being a skill, but if it doesn't need to be a skill, I think it'd be better if it wasn't. But if it is a skill, I'm not necessarily too disappointed. It's just like, I think things should only be made a skill if they really, really like fit into the bracket of being a skill. And this sort of leans more into the area of minigame / like questy type content. So, I mean, you do have to have higher sailing levels to get better ships and stuff like that, but they could just make it so that you have some kind of, level within the game or whatever. Like with Barbarian Assault, you have roles within the minigame that you can level up as you play it further. And it could be a similar deal like that, like you have distance traveled within the minigame or something like that, the way you have on Player Imports, and once you reach a certain distance traveled, you unlock new things, or like some type of naval ranks, like captain and all that type of crap. So that's the real question that I have. I think personally I'd be fine if it was a skill. It'd be interesting to train a new skill and everything, but it's the type of thing where it could be really, really silly after you've gotten the rewards, and it could end up being really unnecessary for it to be a skill the way Dungeoneering was. So those are just some of my thoughts. This is my initial impression of the skill, and definitely love to hear you guys' comments, questions, suggestions, all sorts of different things in the comment section below. So feel free to give your feedback and input, and I will link the dev blog in the description also. So hope you guys found this interesting, and I will see you all on Sunday for episode 14 of Old School Completionists.